Mr. Gutierrez would surrender himself since he is from out of town. He has, I would say, to date cooperated in the investigation, and for that reason we will not request that a bond be set such that would keep him in confinement. So I expect him and his lawyer to surrender on Monday, and he would be slated and then at that time released from custody. Jeff Blake and Dave Buckman from our office are the two assistant prosecutors handling the case. I think many of you know Mr. Buckman is the chief of the white-collar crime section and actually was appointed a special prosecutor in Toledo by Julie Bates and tried with John Wegley and Tom Noe last year. So he's had quite a bit of experience in these kinds of cases and handled some of the other referrals that resulted from that investigation by the last task force dealing with state matters. So I'll be glad to answer any questions, understanding that because this is a pending case, other than the brief details I've already given, limited in the kind of things I can say.
Are these the only charges that are cases that are still pending related to the Dann investigation?
I think the Ethics Commission, and I won't speak for David, and I think perhaps that's one of the reasons he's here. This does not conclude the investigation. The investigation is still ongoing. There are other persons, incidents, and circumstances that are continuing to be investigated. David, do you wish to add anything to that?
I'd add to that. First of all, Ron and his staff have been thorough in examining the Ethics Commission's referral on Mr. Gutierrez, which, by the way, is still online. If those of you want to look at it under the Inspector General's report, specifically the Ethics Commission's report, but the investigation continues with respect to other actors and based upon the interaction on this investigation with Mr. Gutierrez as well.
And I would parenthetically add that there was an incident publicly reported dealing with windows placed on Mr. Dann's home in Liberty Township. They're not addressed in this indictment because of issues of jurisdiction and venue. I have had conversations with both Paul Gaines, the prosecutor in Mahoning County, and Dennis Watkins, the prosecutor in Trumbull County, as this matter was going forward, at least them letting us take the first lead with regard to most of the offenses that happened here. But I think specifically those are excluded from this indictment. And I think with respect to the answer, it does not conclude the investigation. It will conclude the investigation as far as we know it as to Mr. Gutierrez.
And Jim, you may remember that the Ethics Commission also referred its investigation to...
I think, as I think I indicated earlier, we publicly reported that, I think even by Mr. Mendelara, who represents Gutierrez, that he had been meeting with us, talking with us about the case, and this indictment was returned today. You know, I would say in response to that while I indicated Mr. Gutierrez was cooperating, this is not one of those cases where the indictment's returned and it's expected that he is, any agreements with him have been reached. He is represented by counsel, and I expect him to enter not guilty plea at the arraignment. I expect him to appear in court and then respond to the charges in whatever manner he and his lawyer decide to pursue it. But he's not, although he has cooperated in the investigation, he is not a cooperating state's witness who has worked out a deal, so to speak, in advance to this indictment.
All told, how many years is he facing? How many fines? That sort of thing.
Each felony will carry up to 1 year in prison, and I think that would be 6 felonies. The misdemeanors carry 6 months in imprisonment, so it would be 6 years, 7. It would be a total of 8 years in custody. And the felony, the fines are $2,500 each, so multiplying that out, it's like 15, and the misdemeanors are 1, so it would be about $20,000 in fine.
Ron, those who are still under investigation, does it include Marc Dann, Gail Jennings, and some of
I will not comment on names in particular, other than just to say that the Ethics Commission and others are continuing their inquiry on the case, and that the only investigation I think that I can say has concluded, and then the results of the investigation presented to the grand jury is on Mr. Gutierrez.
Does your office have to wait for some referral from the Elections Commission on the Marc Dann stuff?
There is an Ohio statute in the provisions of the election code, I believe 3517-153, that says no prosecution shall commence for an elections violation that involves the conversion of campaign funds to personal use unless it has first been presented to the Elections Commission and the case referred to the prosecutor. So both, as you are aware in some past cases, including most recently John Widowfield, a state rep from Akron, Sue Kite, who was a treasurer of some campaign committees, and some other persons, including Mr. Gutierrez. Mr. Gutierrez signed in writing a waiver at the Elections Commission and requested to be referred to us so that all his matters, at least in Franklin County, could be in one case. The matters are still pending, I believe, with a number of people from this investigation, and I think that complaint filed by Tom Charles is set for a hearing on June 11th. So any action up at that end where they have the ability to impose, in fact, parenthetically, they have a meeting today. They, at their monthly meetings, hear cases and decide cases and can impose an administrative fine, dismiss the case, or refer it to a prosecutor. And so I don't know what may, if anything, ever be referred to us, but it is an accurate statement that we could not, we're awaiting anything to be done by them before we could take action.